We're up to Bo, third Torah portion in Exodus. We'll be looking at a couple of different issues in this one. We're going to be looking again at these cycles that come out of the Torah portions, and we'll be looking at who we are in the characters in Scripture. We're going to be looking at Pharaoh, and we're going to be looking at Pharaoh's hard heart in the first part. And in the second part, we're going to get into some stuff like the calendar and when the day starts. Not really into the calendar, more into when the day starts, but something that Yah's put on my heart for like about the past year or so, that he's going to reveal something about the calendar. I'm not sure exactly what, and just little bits of information. I've known that it's not the right point to look into anything. And I've known that it's something to do with the stars, and just information just keeps coming at just the right time. It's weird. And now I've stopped doing the Now You See TV teachings on Romans. I'm going to have time to actually sit down and work out the calendar. So we'll have a calendar to go into the next year. But anyway, we'll start Torah portion Bo. If you remember in Exodus 5:2, it says, "And Pharaoh said, 'Who is Yehovah that I should obey his voice to let Yisrael go?'" Okay, so he didn't know who he was. And this was the reaction that Yah actually says that he's going to have, because he said in Exodus 4 to Moshe, "As you go back to Mitzrayim, see that you do all of those wonders before Pharaoh, which I have put in your hand, but I am going to harden his heart so that he does not let the people go." And Charlie looked at the word harden that's used in this passage last week. It's chazak, and it means to strengthen. But there's actually 3 words that are used for harden, okay? And through looking at them all, looking in the Septuagint, seeing what the Greek word is, and then looking that up in the New Testament, we can see what these words mean for us. So in Exodus 10, verse 1, it says, "And Yehovah said to Moshe, 'Go into Pharaoh, for I have hardened his heart and the hearts of his servants, so that I show these signs of mine before him.'" Okay, so this is dead important. So that I show these signs of mine before him. This is why Yehovah has hardened his heart. Okay, well, we can look at Yehovah's actions and we can say, does he come down and he makes his heart hard there in the moment? Okay, or is it through the result, the play out of events in reality, or is it through another agent? Now, this word hardened is a different word. Okay, we'll look at that in a sec. "And that you relate in the hearing of your son and your son's sons what I have done in Mitzrayim and my signs which I have done among them, and you shall know that I am Yehovah." So we've looked at the fact that he uses people's fall for his own glory. Okay, he didn't use it for them to fall. He used it to bring people to the truth. He uses it all for the good of those who are called according to his purpose. So the word that's used in Exodus 10:1 there is this word, kavad. This form of the verb that's used, and it means to make heavy, make dull, make unresponsive. So this is what Yehovah is doing. He's making him heavy, dull, and unresponsive. See all of the usages of this word in Exodus, the bit that we're looking at. And in all of these usages, we see that it is Pharaoh that hardened his own heart. Okay, he kavad his own heart. He made it dull. He made it unresponsive, and it was him that did it. And yet here we have in Exodus 10:1, it says that it's Yehovah that did this. And we see this all the way throughout scriptures, where it's said to be Yehovah's action that does something, and yet we see that he's not the agent that brought it to pass. It was Pharaoh that hardened his own heart. And right at the end, Yehovah says, "No, I've done this. And I've done this for my glory so that I can show these signs before him." So we're going to have a little look at that, how that works. Here's the word in Greek. If we look in the Septuagint version, the Greek translation of the Hebrew scriptures, we look at what word it is. It's this word. It means to weigh down or overcharge. Okay? If we look at when this word is used in the New Testament, we can get a little bit of a better idea of what Pharaoh's doing to his own heart here. Luke 21:34 says, "And take heed to yourselves, lest your hearts be weighed down by gluttony, drunkenness, and worries of this life." Okay, so people have addictions, don't they? Okay, addictions to food, addictions to drink, addictions to smoking, addictions to drugs. Okay, And what the New Testament says is that you are making your heart hard in the same way that Pharaoh's heart was hard. The worries of this life. Okay, so if you put something that you're worried about in this life above doing the Torah, if you're working on Shabbat, you're putting the worries of this life. You're making your heart hard towards Yehovah's Torah. This is what it is. This is what Pharaoh did to his own heart. But Yehovah said, I've done this to Pharaoh's heart so that I can do this in the future. Romans 9:11-23 describes this. It says, yet before they were born or had done any good or evil, in order that the purpose of Elohim according to choice might stand, not of works, but of him who calls. So Yehovah has foreknowledge. He knows the end from the beginning. Okay, so before they were born, or they had done any good or evil, he knew what they were going to do. He knew the outcome of their free will. It was according to choice, but he's done it in order that the purpose of Elohim might stand. It was said to her, the greater shall serve the lesser, or the lesser shall serve the greater. Okay, we don't know because we haven't got the object pointer in the Hebrew. But the point is, the greater shall serve the lesser. There was the prophecy there. Yehovah knew exactly what was going to happen from the beginning. Before they were born, before they'd exercised their free will, he said, this is going to happen. As it has been written, Yaakov I have loved, but Esau I have hated. What then shall we say? Is there unrighteousness with Elohim? Let it not be. For he says to Moshe, I shall favor whomever I favor, and I shall have compassion on whomever I have compassion. And we've looked at this before. It's not him just arbitrarily saying, I'm going to have compassion on these people, and these people can forget it. He's saying, look, these people are the ones that I will show mercy and compassion to. And he tells us all the way through Scripture who those people are. The ones who keep covenant with him, the ones who keep his commandments, the ones that love him, okay? Before they'd done any good or evil, before we'd done any good or evil, Yehovah knew whether we were going to harden our hearts to his word or whether we were going to truthfully walk in it in belief. So then, it is not of him who is wishing, nor of him who is running, but of Elohim who shows favor. It's down to Elohim. He's the one that shows favor. He's the one who shows compassion and mercy. For the scripture says to Pharaoh, for this same purpose I have raised you up to show my power in you, and that my name be declared in all the earth. So then he favors whomever he wishes, and he hardens whomever he wishes. Okay, but it's not him coming down and hardening them. It's him giving them free will, knowing how that's going to play out, and then using that for his purpose. Then you shall say, why does he still find fault? For who has resisted his counsel? But who are you, O man, to talk back to Elohim? Shall that which is formed say to him who formed it, why have you made me thus? Could you then go to Elohim and say, you knew that I was going to do this. You knew that I was going to be wicked. So you have created me in order to destroy me. No. He has, as it says here, does not the potter have authority over the clay from the same lump to make one vessel for honor and another for dishonor? He's made them for that purpose, but he didn't make them like that. And if Elohim, desiring to show wrath and to make his power known, with much patience tolerated the vessels of wrath prepared for destruction. Okay, with much patience he tolerated them. And he reaches out to them and he says, just walk in this way. And that he might make known the riches of his esteem on vessels of compassion, which he had prepared beforehand for esteem. So this was his purpose. All he wanted to do is get all the vessels together that would listen to him, that would believe his word, and then he could show his glory or his esteem to them. Yehovah created the world. Okay, he created man in the world. Man can be good and man can be evil. Okay? Yehovah knew ahead of time who was going to be good and who was going to be evil. All he wants in the end is to have all of the good people in his kingdom, all of the ones who bow the knee to him, who will do what he recognizes as good. The people who believe his word, as in do his word. All of the ancient Israelites believed in God. All of them believed in God. They knew that God existed, but they didn't believe his word because when he spoke it, they didn't do it. So Yehovah's got people on the earth, good and bad. Romans 9:21 says, does not the potter have authority over the clay from the same lump to make one vessel for honor and another for dishonor? 2 Timothy 2 gives us very important information about that, though, about the vessels made for honor and about the vessels made for dishonor. It says, however, the solid foundation of Elohim stands firm, having this seal: Yehovah knows those who are his, and let everyone who names the name of Messiah turn away from unrighteousness. Those who he foreknew, he predestined to be conformed to the image of his son. But in a large house, there are not only vessels of gold and silver, but also of wood and clay, some unto honor and some unto dishonor. That's just going to be the way that it is. If then anyone cleanses himself from these matters, he shall be a vessel unto honor, having been set apart of good use to the master. So we have a choice. This is how to be a vessel unto honor. Okay, you set yourself apart. You cleanse yourself from these matters. And to cleanse yourself from these matters doesn't mean, okay, I've cleansed most of myself. It is to be clean of these matters, to then walk in the word of Elohim, because that is what is going to promote you to Elohim as a vessel made unto honor. That's going to make you one of the ones that he chooses. Okay, so although he makes these vessels one unto honor, one unto dishonor, we have a choice. All we have to do is cleanse ourselves from these matters, and then, having been set apart, we will be a vessel unto honor. Deuteronomy 2 verse 30 says, but Sihon, king of Heshbon, would not let us pass over. For Yehovah your Elohim has hardened his spirit and strengthened his heart to give him into your hand as it is this day. So Yehovah knew that this person was going to be like this. Deuteronomy 2 verse 30 again, in this translation, says made his heart obstinate. Okay, so this is how he made him. Then you say to me, why does he still find fault? For who has resisted his counsel? But who are you, O man, to talk back to Elohim? Shall that which is formed say to him who formed it, why have you made me like this? Can Sihon say to him, why have you made my heart obstinate? You know my heart was going to be obstinate, yet you still made me as a vessel fitted for destruction. He can't say that. Okay, just like we can't. We were given that information. Cleanse yourself from all unrighteousness. Cleanse yourself. Make yourself clean. Okay, having been washed by the blood of Yeshua, you're then clean of sin. You then walk in a way where you cleanse yourself. Okay. Romans 8, 28 to 29. And we know that all matters work together for good to those who love Elohim, to those who are called according to his purpose. Because those whom he knew beforehand is chosen, or is elect in a lot of translations, he also ordained beforehand to be conformed to the likeness of his son. We've looked at this before. Everybody loves this verse. Oh, all matters work together for good for those who love Elohim. Okay. Are you ordained beforehand to be conformed to the likeness of his son? Is that what you are? You go after the likeness of his son. You've cleansed yourself from all unrighteousness. Now you walk according to the word. Romans 11, 11 to 12, we've looked at before, shows us the opposite side of this coin. I say then, have they stumbled that they should fall? Let it not be. But by their fall, deliverance has come to the Gentiles to provoke them to jealousy. And if their fall is riches for the world, and their failure riches for the Gentiles, how much more their completeness? Okay, so all the way through the book of Romans, we need to read it as a letter. Okay, we can't just pick that verse out of Romans 8 or pick this verse out of Romans 11. Romans 8 goes into Romans 9, where he's talking about Pharaoh's heart being hardened and about how he's made one vessel for honor, one for dishonor. And then he comes on and he explains it more. And he's saying, look, by their fall, deliverance has come to the Gentiles. He's showing how Yehovah works, how he puts all of these things together. 2 Samuel 21 verse 4 says, and again the displeasure of Yehovah burned against Yisrael and moved David against them to say, go number Yisrael and Yehudah. So, who moved David against them? Yehovah. In this verse it says, and Hasatan stood up against Yisrael and moved David to number Yisrael. People look at this and they go, there's a contradiction in the scriptures. There's no contradiction. Hasatan was the agent by which Yehovah moved David. He can say this being outside of time. He can say, I have done all of these things. All of them. I've done all of them because I set it all in motion. I have done these things, although I wasn't the agent that directly came and did evil. Ezekiel 36:37 says, thus said the Master Yehovah, once again I shall let the house of Yisrael inquire of me to do for them. I shall increase their men like a flock. Okay, again, did Yehovah come down and go, boom, more men? Of course he didn't. Okay, he was not the agent through which these things came to be, but he can be said to have done them at the same time. Deuteronomy 10:12-16 says, "And now Yisrael, what is Yehovah your Elohim asking of you? But to fear Yehovah your Elohim, to walk in all his ways, and to love him, and to serve Yehovah your Elohim with all your heart and with all your soul." Okay, it sounds so simple, so few people can do it. "To guard the commands of Yehovah and his laws, which I command you today for your good. See, the heaven and the heaven of heavens belong to Yehovah your Elohim, also the earth with all that is in it. Yehovah delighted only in your fathers to love them, and he chose their seed after them, you above all peoples as it is today. And you shall circumcise the foreskin of your heart and harden your neck no more." Okay? Yehovah also says, Yehovah your Elohim shall circumcise your heart. Okay? Again, it's both of them. Both of them are true. How does Yehovah do it? It's exactly what we've been looking at for the past few weeks. Okay, there's a cycle, and it is this cycle which is described as the evil task that's given to the sons of men to humble them so that they circumcise their hearts. We circumcise our own hearts, and yet it is Yehovah, and through his word and through these cycles, who does it also. So we've looked, what starts as a blessing and opportunity from Yah is slowly corrupted and rejected. Adam and Eve chose the lust of their eyes rather than to hearken to Yah's commands. Noah's descendants quickly turned to doing evil again. The descendants of the patriarchs all depart from the word, by the children of the promise. The Israelites bring upon themselves disfavor from Yah, what we were looking at when they were in slavery in Egypt, and what it takes for his people to be in slavery and to be under the yoke of their enemies. They have to be in his disfavor. Israel reject Yah's instruction to go and conquer the giants and wander in the wilderness for 40 years, and Israel fall into disobedience and are cursed more and more until they are exiled. And we've seen Yah through this will just choose the two that are actually believing in his word to do it, the ones who actually circumcise their hearts. And through this, he circumcises the hearts of his people, and he ends up with a kingdom full of people with circumcised hearts. He doesn't come down and go, boom, circumcised heart. It's not how it works. So this is the cycle, given a fresh start. We looked at this with Adam and Eve all the way through. Given a fresh start, given the word of Elohim, okay, they're just coming out of Egypt now. They're given a fresh start. They're given the word of Elohim. They're given the Torah at Sinai. Tested in whether they would walk in the word or not. They fail to walk in the commands. Things start to go wrong. The people find themselves affected by other people's disobedience. They cry out. A deliverer or savior is raised up. Okay, with the children of Israel, okay, it's the second generation who cry out and ask to go into the land, and then Joshua is raised up as a leader to lead them into the land. Fresh start, given the word of Elohim, tested them whether they would walk in the word. This happened every time. Every time a judge was raised up, okay, the people came to repentance. They followed after the judge, then the judge died. Tested them whether they would walk in the word. They fail to walk in the commands. Things start to go wrong. People find themselves affected by people's disobedience. They cry out, and a deliverer or savior is raised up. We go ahead now to Yeshua, okay? A deliverer or savior has been raised up for us. So we've got a choice, okay? And I can say most people are failing the test. They were given a fresh start. They were given the word of Elohim. They were tested in whether they would walk in the word. They failed to walk in the commands. The next things that are going to happen, the things are going to start to go wrong, okay? The punishment of Yah is going to come upon people. If people find themselves affected by people's disobedience, they cry out, okay? This is optional. People can cry out, okay? At any point during your walk, you can say, yeah, I came to Torah, I didn't do Torah, I kind of wanted to do it my own way. I'm going to have to cry out in repentance. Yeshua is always there for us. We always have the choice to walk in this cycle, fresh start, given the word of Elohim, tested in whether we will walk in the word, we walk in the commandments, live with Yah's full blessing. People are affected by our obedience, and we die in Messiah and are raised to life eternal. You see how this cycle has circumcised the hearts of his people. Now, circumcised the hearts of some of his people anyway. Return, O backsliding children, declares Yehovah, for I shall rule over you and shall take you one from a city, two from a clan, and bring you to Zion. Very, very few people, okay, do this teshuvah, this returning. I will take you one from here, two from there. I will circumcise your hearts, but you will do it yourself. It will be the ones who choose to do it. And I shall give you shepherds according to my heart, and they shall feed you with knowledge and understanding. Okay? Just seems like such an attractive promise. So few people do it. Ecclesiastes 1:13, this is exactly what we're talking about when Yehovah circumcises people's hearts. I set my heart to seek and search out by wisdom concerning all that has been done under the heavens. He's just been saying how this cycle repeats. There's nothing new under the sun. This evil task Elohim has given to the sons of man to be humbled by it. He gave them this to be humbled by it, to circumcise their hearts. And a couple of people will do it every time. Deuteronomy 30:1-6 shows us more fully how he's going to circumcise the heart, and we can see that it is in fact by this cycle. And it shall be when all these words come upon you, the blessing and the curse which I have set before you, the same cycle which is happening, and you shall bring them back to your heart among all the Gentiles where Yehovah your Elohim drives you, and shall turn back to Yehovah your Elohim and obey his voice according to all that I command you today, with all your heart and with all your soul, you and your children. Then Yehovah your Elohim shall turn back your captivity and shall have compassion on you, and he shall turn back and gather you from all the peoples where Yehovah your Elohim has scattered you. If any of you are driven out to the farthest parts under the heavens, from there Yehovah your Elohim does gather you, and from there he does take you. And Yehovah your Elohim shall bring you into the land which your fathers possessed, and you shall possess it, and he shall do good to you and increase you more than your fathers. And Yehovah your Elohim shall circumcise your heart and the heart of your seed to love Yehovah your Elohim with all your heart, with all your soul, so that you may live. When does he do this? When is our heart circumcised? So that we love him with all our heart and with all our soul? When we turn back to him with all our heart and with all our soul. Okay, again, it's us that do it. It's described as him doing it, but it's us that do it. In Exodus 7 verse 3, there's another word that's used. Okay, Yehovah says, I will harden Pharaoh's heart. Okay, but again, it's a completely different word. We'll look at this one when we get to the end of the Torah portion. It's the second to last verse. Okay, so it's this word, kashah, and this means to make hard, make stiff, make stubborn. So what Yehovah is saying is, I will make Pharaoh stubborn. Okay, but he's not saying, I'm going to come down and I'm going to go, boom, stubborn Pharaoh. Okay, take away your free will. Okay, he knows the end from the beginning. Okay, the play out of this cycle in Pharaoh is going to result in him being stubborn. And it's this word in the Greek, okay, sklerino, and it means here to make hard, harden, metaphorically to render obstinate, stubborn, to be hardened, to become obstinate or stubborn. So let's look at this in the New Testament and see how it applies to us. Acts 19 verse 9 says, but when some were hardened, same word, made stubborn or obstinate, and did not believe. Again, the Israelites all believed in God. That's not what belief is. Believing in Yeshua isn't, oh, I think Yeshua existed and he died for my sins. That's just such a backwards way of thinking about it. Okay, all of these people believed in Yehovah, and yet they are told to us as they did not believe the word. Why? Because they were hardened. When it comes to following the word, we can harden our hearts against it and say, I'm just not going to do that. And through doing that, it means that we do not believe his word. Because if we actually believed it and we believed it was what led to life, then of course we'd do it. It would be insane not to. Hebrews 3:8-9 uses the same word. It says, do not harden your hearts as in the rebellion, in the day of trial in the wilderness, where your fathers tried me, proved me, and saw my works for 40 years. Later it says, look out, brothers, lest there be in any of you a wicked heart of unbelief. Okay, again, so it's equating this hardening of the heart with a heart of unbelief. Okay, you hear the word, you don't do it. You deceive yourself by the deceivableness of sin. But encourage one another daily while it is called today, lest any of you be hardened by the deceivableness of sin. Okay? Yes, I'm a follower of Messiah. No, I've not cleansed my life. I don't walk cleanly before Yehovah. But I am a follower of Messiah. This is a wicked heart of unbelief. Okay? We really need to grasp these things that are happening here. Hebrews 4:7 says, he again defines a certain day, today saying through David with so much later, as it has been said, today, if you hear his voice, okay, do not harden your hearts, because we've got a choice. Okay, we can hear the word, we can believe the word is coming directly from Elohim, we can believe in Elohim, but we cannot believe the word because we don't do it. Matthew 13:10-16 says, and the disciples came and said to him, why do you speak to them in parables? And he answering said to them, because it has been given to you to know the secrets of the kingdom of heaven, but to them it has not been given. For whoever possesses, to him more shall be given, and he shall have overflowingly. But whoever does not possess, even what he possesses shall be taken away from him. Because of this I speak to them in parables, because seeing they do not see, and hearing they do not hear, nor do they understand. And in them the prophecy of Yeshayahu is completely filled, which says, hearing you shall hear and by no means understand, and seeing you shall see and by no means perceive. For the heart of this people is become thickened, and their ears are hard of hearing, and their eyes they have closed, lest they should see with their eyes, hear with their ears, lest they should understand with their heart and turn back and I heal them. But blessed are your eyes because they see, and your ears because they hear. I'm sure that everybody reads this and goes, isn't it amazing that our eyes can see and our ears can hear? Everybody, whether or not they're in disobedience or not, whether or not they've cleansed their lives or not. People need to realize that bit's not talking about you. Okay, this bit is talking about you when you hear the word, but you don't do it. You're a hearer, but not a doer. You hear, but you don't understand, because if you understood the word, you'd do it. It would just flow naturally. There's no way that you could not do it, because you'd understand it. You'd see it. You'd see Yehovah. You believe the word. Ezekiel 36:26-27 gives us the solution to the hard heart that people have. I shall give you a new heart and put a new spirit within you. And I shall take the heart of stone, the hard heart, out of your flesh. And I shall give you a heart of flesh and put my spirit within you. And I shall cause you to walk in my laws and guard my judgments, and you shall do them. Okay? This is really, really important. People think, again, I've got his spirit within me, and it's not causing me to do his laws. What's going on? Acts 7:51-53 says, you stiff-necked and uncircumcised in heart and ears. Remember who circumcises the heart. It's us. It's our decision to circumcise the heart. Okay? You've not circumcised your heart. He's saying, I will take this heart of stone out of you and give you a heart of flesh. But again, we've seen when he says, I will do this thing, he is not the agent that does it. It's us. It's our free will. You always resist the Holy Spirit as your fathers did. You also do. So look, when he says, I'll put my spirit within you and cause you to walk in my laws and guard my judgments, having circumcised your heart, here it's saying, look, you stiff-necked and uncircumcised in heart and ears, you always resist the Holy Spirit. Which of the prophets did your fathers not persecute? And they killed those who before announced the coming of the righteous one, of whom you have now become the betrayers and murderers. Okay, think of who he's talking to. This is Stephen talking to the Jews, who received the Torah as it was ordained by angels, but did not watch over it. Okay? What does he say? I'll cause you to walk in my laws and guard my judgments, to watch over my judgments. If you're uncircumcised in heart and ears, though, you just resist the Spirit. You end up not doing it. You don't watch over it. What is it to watch over the Torah, to guard the Torah? We've looked before. If you show partiality, you commit sin, being found guilty of the Torah as transgressors. Okay, if you're showing partiality in keeping the Torah, you're committing sin and you're a transgressor of the Torah and not a keeper of the Torah. To watch it, to guard over it is different. He'll give you his spirit so that you can do it, but you've got to circumcise your heart and not resist it. Whoever shall guard all the Torah and yet stumble in one point, he is guilty of all. In other words, you're guarding over the Torah, but then it comes to a certain thing and you're like, I'm not going to do that. Just forget that bit. You're guilty of breaking the entire Torah because you've set yourself above the Torah as a judge of the Torah to say, I'll do everything else. Everything else is great, but this thing here, I'm not doing that. Forget it. Okay? If you do that, you establish yourself as a transgressor of the Torah. Okay? You have received the Torah, but you did not watch over it. You're the same as these people who are uncircumcised in heart and ears, who resist the Holy Spirit. This makes sense. So this is the word that Charlie looked at last week, okay? It's chazak, and it means to make strong, to strengthen, basically. These are all the times that it's used, but it's interesting when it's used throughout here. First time in Exodus 4:21 when Yehovah says, I will harden his heart, I'll strengthen his heart. Exodus 7:43, it says that Yehovah hardened Pharaoh's heart, he strengthened Pharaoh's heart. We don't know how this happened. We don't know if Yehovah came down and went, boom, strengthened heart, I've strengthened you supernaturally. Whether he did it through another agent, did he do it through Hasatan again? Did Hasatan come and whisper something in his ear which strengthened his heart? We don't know. Exodus 7:22 and 8:19, okay, it says that Pharaoh's heart was hardened. And it doesn't mean in the Hebrew that Yehovah hardened his heart again in this moment. It means that it was already hardened. So we've got here, Yehovah does what he says. He's hardened Pharaoh's heart, and here it says that his heart was hardened. In Exodus 9:12, it says that Yehovah hardened the heart of Pharaoh again. Okay, so this is when things are getting a little bit worse. Okay, I think here it was after Aaron's rod swallowed up the rods of the magicians. It seems to be every time things step up a gear and it gets a little bit more terrifying that Yehovah does something or brings something to be when Pharaoh's heart is hardened. Okay, so the Lord hardened the heart of Pharaoh here, hardened the heart of Pharaoh here in Exodus 9:35. In the verse before, though, we see something very interesting. Okay, he strengthened Pharaoh's heart, but we get a little bit more information about how Pharaoh's heart was hardened in the verse before. Pharaoh saw that the rain and the hail and the thunder had ceased, yet he sinned again, and he hardened his heart, he and his servants. This word is kavad. Okay, this is the word where it says to make heavy, where you're weighed down by the cares of this life or by gluttony or drunkenness or whatever you've hardened your heart with there. Okay, this is what Pharaoh did. And it says, verse afterwards, that the heart of Pharaoh was hardened. Okay. Right, okay, sorry. This verse here, Yehovah strengthened his heart again. Okay, so we see here how the heart of Pharaoh was strengthened. It was strengthened by him making it heavy. Here we've got Yehovah hardened Pharaoh's heart. This is after the plague of locusts. Everything in the land has been destroyed by the hail. The locusts go out and destroy everything else. Pretty terrifying time. Pharaoh's heart is strengthened after this so he can continue. Exodus 10:27, this is after the plague of darkness. His heart was hardened again. His heart was strengthened so he could continue. And then in Exodus 11:10, when the threat comes, if you don't let the people go, I'm going to kill all of the firstborn. His heart is strengthened again so that he continues in this. But again, we don't know how Yehovah did this, whether he did it by an event in physical reality, which seems to be how he does the other things, or whether he came down and he supernaturally strengthened him. So verse 3 says, and Moshe and Aharon came into Pharaoh and said to him, thus said Yehovah Elohim of the Hebrews, till when shall you refuse to humble yourself before me? Let my people go so that they serve me. Okay, and again, this comes down to us. We look at the scriptures, it's the living word. We can identify ourselves in this. We've looked at how Pharaoh hardened his own heart. He made it weighed down. We looked at how the New Testament says that we do that. Okay, we weigh it down with gluttony, with drunkenness, with the cares of this life. Okay, it said to Pharaoh, till when will you refuse to humble yourself before me? Can the same be said to us? Yehovah be saying the same thing to us now? How long are you going to walk on with that hard heart, weighed down by those things, and just refuse to repent and come before me and cleanse yourself and be a vessel unto honor? Again, the cycle happens. for men to be humbled by it. Till when would you refuse to humble yourself before me? Let my people go. And the word there is actually a loosening, okay, to let them loose, okay, which we do as well when we become his people, when we let go of sin. Verse 4 says, or else if you refuse to let my people go, see, tomorrow I am bringing locusts within your borders, and they shall cover the surface of the land so that no one is able to see the land, and they shall eat the rest of what has escaped, which remains to you from the hail, and they shall eat every tree which grows up for you out of the field. And they shall fill your houses and the houses of all your servants and the houses of all the Mitzrites, which neither your fathers nor your fathers' fathers have seen, since the day that they were on the earth to this day. Then he turned and went out from Pharaoh. Okay, this happens with us as well. Okay, we know what the consequences of hardening our hearts toward Yah will be. It's written for us in his word. Pharaoh now has the word of Yah that says, if you continue to do these things, the outcome is going to be terrible. But what does he do? Okay, he hardened his heart. He continues in whatever it is. We have to recognize that this is talking about us if this is what we are doing. And Pharaoh's servant said to him, till when would this one be a snare to us? Let the men go so that they serve Yehovah the Elohim. Do you not yet know that Mitzrayim is destroyed? Could be said to us, couldn't it? Till when will Moshe be a snare to you? Why does he have to be a snare? Just do what is said in the law of Moshe. Don't let him be a snare to you. Don't live your lives in guilt knowing that you're not walking correctly with Yehovah. Do you not yet know that Mitzrayim is destroyed? Don't you know that the world is nothing? Mitzrayim, this world, is already destroyed. It's written of in the word. And Moshe and Aharon were brought back to Pharaoh, and he said to them, go serve Yehovah your Elohim. Who are the ones that are going? And Moshe said, we are going with our young and our old, with our sons and our daughters, and our flocks and our herds we are going, for we have a festival to Yehovah. And he said to them, let Yehovah be with you, as I let you and your little ones go. Watch for evil is before your face. Not so, you men go now and serve Yehovah, for that is what you desired. And they were driven out from the presence of Pharaoh. People do this as well when they've got hardened hearts, hardened by the lust of the flesh, hardened by the cares of this life. They do exactly the same. I'll do the Torah. I'll tell you what, I'll do it in my own way. Okay. I'll wear tzitzit, but I'll tuck them in. I'm going to hide them. Or I'll wear 2 tzitzit, or I'll wear them sometimes, when I feel like wearing them, but I'm not going to wear them on my garments as one of his people. Or whatever it is, I'll stop doing that. I'll mainly stop doing that. But, apart from this and apart from that, and it's just nonsense, isn't it? It's not doing what has been commanded. Okay, yeah, you can go. Just the men can go. Okay, I'm still going to retain control over it. Okay, I'm not going to surrender this thing. 1 Samuel 15, 20 to 23 shows us a great example of someone who did this. Charlie looked at the same example last week. Shaul said to Shemuel, I did obey the voice of Yehovah, and I went on the way which Yehovah sent me. Okay? Had he obeyed the voice of Yehovah, or had he just done his own thing? He'd made it about what he wanted to do, hadn't he? And now he's saying, I did obey the voice of Yehovah. How many people are going to be stood before the throne saying, I did obey the Torah. I did obey the Torah. Oh, you didn't obey the Torah. Well, the people took of the spoil of the sheep and cattle, the best of that which should have been put under the ban to sacrifice to Yehovah your Elohim in Gilgal. Then Shemuel said, does Yehovah delight in burnt offerings and sacrifices as in obeying the voice of Yehovah? Look, to obey is better than an offering. To heed is better than the fat of rams. Okay, so anything in the Torah, you can point to anything and say, it's not about that. It's not about the fact that you did that. What is trying to be achieved through the Torah is the obedience of his people, the total obedience. It comes as a whole package. This is why James says, look, if you keep the Torah but you stumble in one point, then you're guilty of all, because it's not about the individual things. It's not about the sacrifices. It's not about wearing tzitzit. It's not about whatever in the Torah. It's about obedience. That's the only thing that he's looking for. For rebellion is as the sin of divination, and stubbornness is as wickedness and idolatry. idolatry. Because you have rejected the word of Yehovah, he also does reject you as king. Recognize that that is what Yehovah will say to you. That is why Yehovah will reject you in that day if you follow most of the word, but you don't do it in some point. Okay? Verse 12 says, and Yehovah said to Moshe, stretch out your hand over the land of Mitzrayim for the locusts to come upon the land of Mitzrayim and eat every plant of the land, all that the hail is left. And Moshe stretched out his rod over the land of Mitzrayim, and Yehovah brought an east wind on the land all that day and all that night. Morning came, and the east wind brought the locusts, and the locusts went up over all the land of Mitzrayim and settled within all the borders of Mitzrayim. Very grievous. There had never been locusts like them before, nor would there be like them again. And Charlie mentioned last week that the locusts that are to come in the future are not like them, they're just much worse. And they covered the surface of the land so that the land was darkened, and they ate every plant of the land and all the fruit of the trees which the hail had left, and no greenness was left on the trees or on the plants of the field in all the land of Mitzrayim. And people see this, don't they, in their own lives? They see Yehovah at work in their life, either bringing chastisement or bringing blessing in a good way in their lives. They see it at work. But then when the word comes to them, don't do this, it's going to end badly, they just ignore it. They harden their hearts to it. The next thing comes and they're like, no, actually, I'm just not going to let it go. Verse 16 says, Pharaoh then called for Moshe and Aharon in haste and said, I have sinned against Yehovah your Elohim and against you, and now please forgive my sin only this once, and pray to Yehovah your Elohim that he would turn away this death from me. Okay, who is Moshe and Aharon a picture of? It's the Torah and Yeshua. Okay, please forgive my sin only this once. Pray to Yehovah, your Elohim, that he would turn this death away from me. How many people do this when they're in a destitute situation? They cry out to Yehovah knowing that they've sinned against him. They'll admit their sin then. They will not change. Their hearts are still hardened. And he went out from Pharaoh and prayed to Yehovah, and Yehovah turned a very strong west wind, which took the locusts away and blew them into the sea of reeds. Not one locust was left within all the border of Mitzrayim. However, Yehovah hardened the heart of Pharaoh, and he did not let the children of Israel go. And Yehovah said to Moshe, stretch out your hand towards the heavens, and let there be darkness over the land of Mitzrayim, even the darkness which is felt. Okay, it's an interesting phrase that, isn't there? Let there be darkness. Does it remind you of anything? Well, if we look in the Hebrew, it is Yehi Hoshek. Okay, let there be darkness. We look in Genesis 1:3, it's Yehi Or, which is let there be light. Okay, it's exactly the same thing, but it's opposite. Okay, when he was blessing everything, when he was bringing everything to be good, he said, let there be light. Now, when the curses are coming, it's let there be darkness. And Moshe stretched out his hand toward the heavens, and there was a thick darkness in all the land of Mitzrayim for 3 days. In the beginning, in Genesis 3, it is the spiritual light which is being brought to bear. Okay, when he says, let there be light. In this instance, it's a spiritual darkness. You can read that in Psalm 73. I think it's 73 or 78, okay, when this account is given. It's a spiritual darkness which is brought on the land. He describes it as sending out evil angels among the people. They did not see one another, nor did anyone rise from his place for 3 days, while all the children of Israel had light in their dwellings. This was more significant to Pharaoh. Every time something happened, he wanted to check, did it affect the children of Israel? Okay, is the word really true? Okay, Yehovah said this word, and all these other things have come to pass, but is the word really true? And Pharaoh called to Moshe and said, go serve Yehovah, only leave your flocks and your herds behind. Let your little ones go with you too. But Moshe said, you yourself are to provide us with sacrifices and burnt offerings to prepare for Yehovah our Elohim. And livestock are to go with us too. Not a hoof is to be left behind, for we have to take some of them to serve Yehovah our Elohim. And we ourselves do not know with what we are to serve Yehovah until we come there. However, Yehovah hardened the heart of Pharaoh, and he would not let them go. People do the same today. Okay, I'll keep all of the Torah. I'll follow all of the Torah. What? I've got to bring offerings to Yehovah as well? This is ridiculous. I've got the cares of life. I've got these things to worry about. What about my money? What about this? What about that? It's the same thing. It comes from the hard heart. And Pharaoh said to him, get away from me. Watch yourself and see my face no more. For in the day that you see my face, you die. And Moshe said, you have spoken rightly, never again do I see your face. And Yehovah said to Moshe, I am bringing yet one more plague on Pharaoh and on Mitzrayim. After that, he is going to let you go from here. Okay, he knew right from the beginning. He said, okay, he's not going to listen to you, and then all these things will happen, and then he'll listen to you. When he lets you go, he shall drive you out from here altogether. Speak now in the hearing of the people, and let every man ask from his neighbor, and every woman from her neighbor, objects of silver and objects of gold. And Yehovah gave the people favor in the eyes of the Mitzrites. And the man Moshe was very great in the land of Mitzrayim, in the eyes of Pharaoh's servants, and in the eyes of the people. So here we've got the antidote to the cares of life. Well, I've got to bring offerings. I've got to bring sacrifices to Yehovah. Yehovah is well capable of giving you favor in the eyes of people, okay? So that you could go to them and ask for silver and gold, and they would just give it to you. He can just change things for you. Your obedience is what is necessary. Don't get it backwards and think, oh no, why have I got to do these things? It's not going to work out for me like this. See that this is here for a reason. All of this is constructed in this way for a reason, so that we see these same cycles, so that we see ourselves in these characters. And Moshe said, thus said Yehovah, about midnight I am going into the midst of Mitzrayim. And all the firstborn of the land in Mitzrayim shall die, from the firstborn of Pharaoh who sits on the throne, even to the firstborn of the female servant who is behind the handmill, and all the firstborn of cattle. And there shall be a great cry throughout all the land of Mitzrayim, such as has never been or ever be again. But against any of the children of Israel, no dog shall move its tongue against man or against beast, so that you know that Yehovah makes distinction between Mitzrayim and Israel. And all these servants of yours shall come to me and bow down to me, saying, get out, you and all the people at your feet. And after that I shall go out. And he went out from Pharaoh in great displeasure. So Pharaoh's seeing all of these things come to pass. He's seeing the word of Yehovah at work in his life. Okay? It says, but Yehovah said to Moshe, Pharaoh is not going to listen to you in order to multiply my wonders in the land of Mitzrayim. Okay, this is why such a stubborn man came to be. This is why Yehovah allowed it, why he tolerated it. And Moshe and Aharon did all these wonders before Pharaoh. However, Yehovah hardened the heart of Pharaoh, and he did not let the children of Israel go out of his land. Even now, he didn't think this is definitely going to happen. I cannot possibly continue to sin against Yehovah because this is definitely going to happen. It's been given to me as the word, and I believe it so much that I'm going to change my behavior accordingly. Ezekiel 3:3-9, we see the same cycle all the way through history. Go to speak to Pharaoh, but he's not going to listen to you. And he said to me, son of man, feed your stomach and fill your stomach with this scroll that I am giving you. And I ate it, and it was sweet as honey in my mouth, the Torah. And he said to me, son of man, go to the house of Israel, and you shall speak to them with my words. For you are not sent to a people of foreign speech and of difficult language, but to the house of Israel. Not to many people of foreign speech and of difficult language, whose words you do not understand. If I had rather sent you to them, they would have listened to you. But the house of Israel is going to refuse to listen to you, for they refuse to listen to me. But all the house of Israel are hard of head. What's the same problem again? The problem with Pharaoh, hard of heart. See, I shall make your face as hard as their faces, and your forehead as hard as their foreheads. Like adamant stone, harder than flint, I shall make your forehead. Do not be afraid of them, nor be discouraged at their looks, for they are a rebellious house. I am sure that the same was done for Moshe when he went up against Pharaoh as well. Just go and speak the words. I just need you to go and speak the words to them so that they know what the truth is. Then they can choose to either do it or not do it, but they're not going to do it. Romans 11:7-12. What then? Israel has not obtained what it seeks, but the chosen did obtain it, and the rest, what were they? They were hardened, okay? Like Pharaoh's heart was hardened by Yehovah. Okay, the house of Israel, they're not going to listen to you because their hearts are hard. The rest were hardened by Yehovah. Yisrael has not obtained what it seeks. Okay, we can all call ourselves Israel, just as all of those people could call themselves Israel. We can say we keep the Torah. You know, we do this, we do that. We'll keep the feast. We wear tzitzit. They all did the same, exactly the same, exactly the same. Difference should be that we follow the word, that we believe the word, and we do all of it. We don't transgress the Torah. We're not transgressors of the Torah before Yah. Okay? We keep the Torah. Now we can break this cycle. Everyone here has the opportunity to break the cycle which has been given to the sons of man, to be humbled by it. Everyone's got that option. Cleanse yourself and cleanse your lives and be a vessel unto honor. As it has been written, Yehovah has given them a spirit of deep sleep, eyes to not see and ears to not hear until this day. David also says, let their table become a snare and for a trap and for a stumbling block and a recompense to them. How long will this man be a snare to us? Moshe. Let their eyes be darkened not to see and bow down their back always. I say then, have they stumbled that they should fall? Let it not be, but by their fall deliverance has come to the Gentiles to provoke them to jealousy. And if their fall is riches for the world and their failure riches for the Gentiles, how much more their completeness? Do you see the choice? Do you see how amazing it is? If your fall can be riches to the world, if Yehovah can use that, if he can use Pharaoh and his hard heart, okay, how much more your completeness if you just chose to submit and to just do all of the word? Not even a question. Oh, I couldn't sin. Like Charlie was talking about the other week with Joseph. I cannot sin against my Elohim. Or is the message that you give to everyone around you, I can sin against Yehovah, my Elohim. Just watch me. I'm going to do it now. Yehovah can use your fall. Okay? We can use much more your completeness. Let's take a break. So, as I said at the beginning, in this part, what I'm going to be dealing with is an issue to do with the calendar. It is to do with the calendar because it's when a day starts. There's something else right at the beginning of this Torah portion, actually. It says, Yehovah spoke to Moshe and to Aharon in the land of Mitzrayim, saying, this month is the beginning of months for you. It is the first month of the year for you. And I just think that this is interesting, okay, because we're all trying to work out what the calendar is. Well, when he comes to them, he says, this month is the beginning of months to you. They didn't go, what month is that? They knew what the calendar was at the time. Now, throughout Scripture, we see that there are only ever 12 months in the year. Okay? When it comes to the courses of the priests, there's only 12 courses for the 12 months. When it comes to the tree yielding fruit each month, it only yields 12 types of fruit. Now, the calendar that they had in Egypt, because I looked at this, I was like, I wonder if it's the ancient Egyptian calendar, I wonder if they had it right. But they had an extra 13th month, which came sometimes that you saw the star of Sirius in a certain position, and that would tell you whether you had the 13th month that year. So it's not that calendar. And it's no calendar, no lunar calendar, which has an extra 13th month. People will say, well, the tribes, there were 12 tribes sometimes, and there were 13 tribes sometimes. So surely that is an example of how there can sometimes be 12 and sometimes be 13. The problem with that is it tells us that in Scripture. So we know that that's true. We can't just kind of look at that and say, well, this must be true about the months as well, because we quite like it to be true about the months. So as I say, I'm sure that this is going to figure into the calculating of the calendar. I'm not sure yet. I'm going to start work on it this week, and I'll let you all know as soon as I've got something. Speak to all the congregation of Yisrael, saying, on the 10th day of this month, each one of them is to take for himself a lamb, according to the house of his father, a lamb for a household. And if the household is too small for the lamb, let him and his neighbor next to his house take it according to the number of souls, according to each man's need. You shall make your count for the lamb. Let the lamb be a perfect one, a year-old male. Take it from the sheep or from the goats. And obviously, as we're going to see this, going through this, we're going to see Yeshua in everything, in every instruction. If you want kind of a breakdown of that, look at last year's Torah portion, because I'm not going to go through that again. It's quite strikingly obvious when you go through this. And you shall keep it until the 14th day of the same month. Then all the assembly of the congregation of Yisrael shall kill it between the evenings. Okay, so when is the 14th day? It's between the evenings. You kill it on the 14th day, you kill it between the evenings. So the 14th day is between the evenings. So we've got one evening here, one evening here. Now, the way that an evening works, an evening can be the evening of the previous day, when it's early evening, and it can be the beginning of the next day, when it is late evening. Okay, we'll look at a historical source for that as we go through. But the evening is a transitionary time, and understanding this is key to understanding some of this stuff that we're going to go through. So it's from evening until evening. So this particular day, the 14th, starts in evening here, and it ends in evening here. So this has to set up a pattern for every day, because otherwise, the next day, if it started at sunrise, would be starting here, wouldn't it? So what's this? Well, it ends here. The first day starts here, ends there. So what's this? What period of time is this? And if the day started at sunrise all the time, okay, then the 13th day would have started here, okay, and it would have ended here. So what's this? Okay, so if the 14th day is evening to evening, all the days are evening to evening. They have to be, because otherwise you're just throwing it all out. And we'll see just loads more examples of this as we go through. In Genesis 1:1-3, it says, "In the beginning Elohim created the heavens and the earth came to be formless and empty, and darkness was on the face of the deep. And the spirit of Elohim was moving on the face of the waters." So this was the first day. Okay? How did the day start? Did it start in darkness, or did it start in light? Of course, it started in darkness. And Elohim said, "Let light come to be," and light came to be. Now, people will say that this part of the creation didn't happen on the first day, that he brought all this about, and then the 6 days of creation started at this point. However, we know that this is not true, because in Exodus 12:11 it says, "For in 6 days Yehovah made the heavens and the earth, the sea, and all that is in them." And here we see that he created the heavens and the earth came to be formless and empty, and darkness was on the face of the deep. So when he created the heavens and the earth as part of the 6 days, it was day one. Okay? Leviticus 23:27-28 says, "On the 10th day of this 7th month is the Day of Atonement. It shall be a set-apart gathering for you. You shall afflict your souls and bring an offering made by fire to Yehovah." So this is the 10th day that it's talking about. "And you do no work on that same day, for it is the Day of Atonement to make atonement for you before Yehovah your Elohim." So the Day of Atonement is the 10th day. The only period of time that it covers is the 10th day. In Leviticus 23:32, it says, "It is a Sabbath of rest to you, and you shall afflict your souls. On the 9th day of the month at evening, from evening till evening, you observe your Sabbath." So, on the 9th day of the month, you've got evening, marks the end of the day, the beginning of the next day. Okay? And from that evening until the following evening is the 10th day. So from the evening of the 9th day to the evening of the 10th day, that is the day. So again, we can look at it. Okay, it happens between the evenings. We've got one evening, we've got the evening of the 9th day, and that is when the day comes to an end, when it's getting dark, then it goes into the next day, and it goes until the following evening, the evening of the 10th day. So this half of it, this is the evening of the 9th day. This half of it here, this is the evening of the 10th day that it's talking about. So we've got to go in from evening to evening, and it's this period of time. The 11th day, if it started in the morning, okay, the 10th day only goes from evening until evening. The 11th day, if it started in the morning, would start here, because the 10th day does end here. We're told that absolutely in Scripture, that it ends here. So the 11th day would start here, and it would go to here, So what's this period of time? You've got a period of time which is not a day. Okay, it just exists outside of time. And again, the 9th day would have started here in the morning. Then on the evening of the 9th day, that's when the 10th day starts. So you're left with this period of time here. Okay, it's impossible. 7 days you shall eat unleavened bread. Indeed, on the first day you cause leaven to cease from your houses. For whoever eats leavened bread from the first day until the 7th day, that soul shall be cut off from Israel. Okay, so how many days do you eat unleavened bread? 7. Okay, tells us when these 7 days are. In the first month, on the 14th day of the month, in the evening, okay, so as the 14th day comes to a close, when you've got to kill the lambs between the evening, as it comes to a close, you shall eat unleavened bread until the 21st day of the month in the evening. So when does the first day of unleavened bread start? The 14th day in the evening. It passes into the first day of unleavened bread. Okay, until the 21st day of the month. When does it end? In the evening. Okay, again, we're given a very clear definition of when a day is. So you've got your days here. Okay, this day is the 14th day of unleavened bread. This is Passover, the preparation day. Okay, that ends in the evening. When were we told that the first day that you eat unleavened bread from is? The 14th day in the evening. So this is when you eat it from. And you've got first day, second day, third day, fourth day, fifth day, sixth day, seventh day. When does it end? It ends in the evening. Okay, there is no other way that you can reckon time other than this. Doesn't make any sense. This is Josephus. This is what he writes in Wars of the Jews, Book 4, section 582, in case you want to check it out. I've got a copy at home if anybody actually wants to see the evidence of this. This is what he writes. And the last was erected above the top of Exodus.Pharoah, where one of the priests stood course and gave a signal beforehand with a trumpet at the beginning of every 7th day. When is it? In the evening twilight. Okay, so you've got the evening twilight, late evening, that's when the day begins. As also at the evening when that day was finished. So the evening marks the finishing of one day and the beginning of the next. All of the scriptures just come to life. You can understand all of the apparent contradictions when you understand this. John 19, 14 to 15 says, And it was the preparation day of the Passover week, and about the 6th hour, and he said to the Yehudim, See your king. Okay, this is Pilate. But they shouted, Away, crucify him. Pilate said to them, Shall I crucify your king? The chief priests answered, We have no king except Caesar. So when was Yeshua, our Passover lamb, killed? He was killed on the 14th day. When does it say to kill the lamb? Between the evenings. Okay, so take him away and crucify him. This is about the 6th hour. John 19:31 says, Therefore, since it was the preparation day, that the body should not remain on the cross on the Sabbath, for that Sabbath was a high one, the high one which is the first day of unleavened bread. The Yehudim asked Pilate to have their legs broken and that they be taken away. Okay, so it was drawing to the evening at the end of the day. They didn't want him to be on the cross on the Sabbath, so they wanted the legs broken. Mark 15, 42 to 45 says, And when evening had come, because it was the preparation day, okay, so the evening that the 14th finishes on, when that had come, that is the day before the Sabbath. So evening had come, it was coming to the end of the Sabbath. They've got to get him off the cross. Yosef of Ramathaim, a prominent council member who was himself waiting for the reign of Elohim, boldly went into Pilate and asked for the body of Yeshua. But Pilate wondered whether he was already dead, so summoning the captain, he asked him if he was already dead. And when he had learned this from the captain, he gave the body to Yosef. So we learned that he was already dead as it was coming to the evening of the 14th day. When's the Passover lamb to be killed? Between the evenings. Okay, so he's asking for the body here. In John 19, 41 to 42, it says, And at the place where he was crucified, there was a garden, and in the garden a fresh tomb in which no one had yet been laid. There, then, because of the preparation day of the Yehudim, they laid Yeshua because the tomb was near. They needed somewhere. It was the evening of the 14th day had drawn on. It was about to become unleavened bread. They had to put him somewhere. So they put him in this tomb, which was nearby. Okay? So we've got here, this is the period of time that Yeshua died in. Okay? We know this from the scriptures. This is the period of time when it was light. This is the evening. This is the transition period into the next day. This is why they were like, we need to put him somewhere. Where are we going to put him? We'll put him in this tomb, which is nearby. So this is the evening. Yeshua was then in the grave this night and this night and this day, this night and this day, this night and this day. Okay, 3 days and 3 nights. That's how long he was there. Okay, we know exactly when they put him there as the evening was drawing on. We know that they put him there because the tomb was near. So that's your 3 days and 3 nights. Mark 16, 1-2 says, and when the Sabbath was past, Miriam from Magdala and Miriam, the mother of Yaakov and Shlomo, brought spices to go and anoint him. Okay? And very early on the first day of the week, when they came to the tomb, when the sun had risen, we're going to come back to that. Okay? But they bought the spices to go and annoy him, They bought the spices to go and anoint him. Very early on the first day of the week, they came to the tomb. So after the Shabbat had finished, they went out and they bought spices. And then very early the next day, or to our reckoning the next day, when they had woken up, they went to the tomb. We'll come back to this issue of when the sun had risen in a second. On the first day of the week, at early dawn, they came to the tomb, bringing the spices which they had prepared. Okay, so when did they go and get the spices to prepare them? After the Shabbat was finished. When's the only time that they could have gone to get the spices? Okay, it was the evening before, because at early dawn, they came bringing the spices which they'd already prepared. So if dawn was the beginning of the day, how would they have had the spices to prepare them if they got them after the Sabbath, if it started in the morning? It wouldn't be possible. Matthew 28 verse 1 says, now after the Sabbath, toward dawn on the first day of the week, Miriam from Magdala and the other Miriam came to see the tomb. So this was toward dawn on the first day of the week. How can it be toward dawn on the first day of the week and after the Sabbath if the day starts at the dawn? It can't be towards it, can it? John 20 verse 1 says, and on the first day of the week, Miriam from Magdala came early to the tomb while it was still dark. Okay, there you go. End of. While it was still dark on the first day of the week. First day of the week did not begin at dawn, and saw that the stone had been removed from the tomb. Now we need to go back and address something, because it says here while it was still dark, yet we read just before that they came very early on the first day of the week. They came to the tomb when the sun had risen. So did they come when it was dark or when it was risen? Okay, what we find here is that this is this translation of the scriptures. This is the ISR, Scriptures translation. And they've changed what the Greek actually says in order to fit in with their idea that the day starts in the morning. Well, that's how it appears anyway. I can't speak to their motive, but that's how it appears. I can't think of another explanation. I've looked in the Alexandrian texts of the Greek New Testament. I've looked in the Textus Receptus. Okay? And in each of them, it agrees on this. This is the Young's literal translation. If you're ever looking for what it literally says, go to this one on Bible Gateway. And early in the morning on the first of the Sabbaths, they came to the sepulchre at the rising of the sun, while it was still dark. Okay? This is the Aramaic English New Testament, another good one to check if you're confused by something in the Greek. And at early morning on the first day of the week, they came to the cemetery as the sun was rising, while it was still dark. So, did the day start? Did the first day of the week start as when the sun had risen? Okay, in the morning? No, it had started the day before when they bought the spices and prepared them. And then they came to the tomb the next day. Well, they came to the tomb, in the morning. Okay, John 20 verse 1 in the Aramaic English New Testament again. Okay, on the first day of the week in the morning while it was dark. So, this is the way that it works. Okay, you've got the period of time in which Yeshua died. They asked him to be crucified, and he was crucified before the evening came. Okay? This is the evening that it's talking of, the transition time, came to the evening on the 14th day. This is the period of time that he was in the tomb, and this is when they came. The next day, after he had risen from being in the tomb, he wasn't there. Okay, so he died in this period of time. This would be the day. Evening to evening is the day on which he died. He died in that period of time, but it was still between the evenings. Okay? If you think that the day started in the morning, and as we saw, you've got a mystery period of time after here, then you've got 1 day, 2 day, 3 days, culminating in the evening. So what you've actually got is, this was just a mystery period of time which is undefined. Okay? Then halfway through the 3rd day, he would have risen. It just seems bizarre. And then at the end of the day, they came and found the tomb empty. Okay, if you accept that the day starts in the evening, it all works out perfectly. You've got the 14th day, evening till evening. Then you've got the 15th day, evening till evening, 16th. 17th day, evening to evening. This is when he has to have risen, because he was only there for 3 days and 3 nights. And then this is when they come to the tomb. Leviticus 22, 6 to 7. Okay, just some kind of extra things thrown in. This isn't evidence of anything. The evidence we've already looked at. It's very clear in the scriptures when the days are. Leviticus 22, 6 to 7 says, the soul who has touched it shall be unclean until evening, and does not eat the set apart offerings, but shall bathe his body in water. And when the sun goes down, so there's something that is significant about the sun going down and it being evening. That's when he becomes clean again. Ephesians 4:26 says, be wroth, but do not sin. Do not let the sun go down on your rage, because that would be terrible, just halfway through a day. Doesn't make any sense, does it? Okay, the scriptures are really, really clear. You've got to be going out of your way to kind of understand it in another way. So verse 7 of Exodus 12, it says, and they shall take some of the blood and put it on the 2 doorposts and on the lintel of the houses where they eat it. And they shall eat the flesh on that night, roasted in fire, with unleavened bread, and with bitter herbs they shall eat it. Do not eat it raw, nor boiled at all with water, but roasted in fire, its head with its legs and its inward parts. And do not leave of it until morning, but what remains of it until morning you are to burn with fire. Okay, interesting, isn't it, that Yeshua wasn't left on the cross. He wasn't left on the cross for a different reason, because it was becoming the Sabbath and they couldn't. However, through the working of different agents in reality, the scriptures came to bear, just like we saw in the first part. And this is how you eat it. Your loins girded, your sandals on your feet, and your staff in your hand, and you shall eat it in haste. It is the Passover of Yehovah. We've seen this before. This is a diagram of how to gird your loins. Obviously, it's speaking metaphorically, you should be prepared. Now, this is something that we have not observed as a congregation. I know that certain people have arrived with things to be prepared to leave and that sort of thing, but maybe this is an instruction that we need to pay closer attention to, okay, that you are to eat the Passover ready to leave. And I shall pass through the land of Mitzrayim on that night, and shall smite all the firstborn in the land of Mitzrayim, both man and beast, and on all the gods of Mitzrayim I shall execute judgment. I am Yehovah. And the blood shall be a sign for you on the houses where you are. And when I see the blood, I shall pass over you. And let the plague not come on you to destroy you when I smite the land of Mitzrayim. And this day shall become to you a remembrance, and you shall observe it as a festival to Yehovah throughout your generations. Observe it as a festival and everlasting law. Now this word here, remembrance, it's interesting that they've translated it like this as well. Okay, because really the word means memorial. I think, I can't be sure, I think what they're doing is trying to make a connection between this and the Passover supper. So what did Yeshua say? Do this in remembrance of me. Okay, but this word doesn't mean remembrance. You look at the Septuagint for what the Greek word is. It's not the Greek word that's used in the New Testament when he says do this in remembrance of me. This is something as well that people get confused over, that we're only to have the bread and the wine on Passover, because he says do this in remembrance of me, and he was eating the Passover at the time. 1 Corinthians 11, 20-25 says, so when you come together in one place, it is not to eat the Master's Supper. So he's addressing when they all came together, their intention was not to eat the Master's Supper, the bread and the wine. Okay? He tells us what their intention was here. For when you eat, each one takes his own supper first, and one is hungry and another is drunk. Have you not houses to eat and drink in? Or do you despise the assembly of Elohim and shame those who have not? What shall I say to you? Shall I praise you in this? I do not praise. So he's saying, look, when you all come together and you're all having the bread and the wine, you're not doing it properly. Okay? You've all got other things on your mind. For I received from the Master that which I also delivered to you, that the Master Yeshua, in the night in which he was betrayed, took bread. And having given thanks, he broke it and said, take, eat, this is my body which is broken for you. Do this in remembrance of me. In the same way also the cup after the supper, saying, this cup is the new covenant in my blood. As often as you drink it, do this in remembrance of me. How often were they drinking it? When they were coming together into one place, they were just doing it to remember him. It's not something that we're only to do on Passover. A lot of people believe that. 7 days you shall eat unleavened bread. Indeed, on the first day you cause leaven to cease from your houses. For whoever eats leavened bread from that first day until the seventh day, that soul shall be cut off from Israel. Okay? This seems like just such a harsh thing. It's like, well, what? I've eaten some leaven. I'm going to be cut off from Israel now. That's not what's going on here. And on that first day is a set-apart gathering, and on the seventh day you have a set-apart gathering. No work at all is done on them, only that which is eaten by every soul, that alone is prepared by you. Now, I want to go through what is required of us on the Shabbat. Someone asked in a YouTube comment. I want to address this because it's important. It's been about a year since we've gone through any of this. So no work at all is done on them. Only that which is eaten by every soul, that alone is prepared for you. So it's talking about the first and the seventh day of unleavened bread. Okay? And it's saying the only work that you can do is preparing food on those 2 days. So what does that tell us preparing food is in Yahuwah's eyes? It's work. Okay? Only that which is eaten by every soul, that alone is prepared by you. What is eaten by every soul on the first and seventh day of unleavened bread according to the command? Unleavened bread. So that's what you're allowed to prepare on the first and the seventh day of unleavened bread. You're allowed to prepare unleavened bread because you're fulfilling the command. The rest of the time preparing food is work. Okay? Now we live in the day of modern conveniences when we can stick something in the oven that you've already prepared. Okay? They didn't have that. They were preparing food and that was declared to be work. You're going to have to decide for yourselves whether heating up food is work. Personally, I don't think it is, but I'm not going to teach you that it's not because I don't have scriptural authority to do that. Okay, you're going to have to think for yourselves about it and pray about it. Heating up soup, okay, doesn't seem to be work to me. You know, you're not preparing anything, you're pouring something into a thing. The Lord's very practical in what he commands of us. But preparing food, absolutely, 100% is work, can't be done. Exodus 20, 8 to 11 says, remember the Sabbath day to set it apart. First part of the instruction is to set apart the Sabbath day, to keep it holy, okay? 6 days you labor and shall do all your work, but the seventh day is a Sabbath of Yehovah your Elohim. You do not do any work, you, nor your son, nor your daughter, nor your male servant, nor your female servant, nor your cattle, nor your stranger who is within your gates. Okay, so you're not to work. You're not to make anyone else do any work either. One person is not mentioned here, okay? That's your husband or your wife, because they are not under your authority. If they choose to go and break the Shabbat, then they're liable before Yahovah. I would seriously consider speaking to them and saying, this is not on. You shouldn't be doing this. However, it doesn't say, stop your husband or your wife from working, okay? Because they're responsible for themselves. For in 6 days Yahovah made the heavens and the earth, the sea and all that is in them, and rested the seventh day. Therefore Yahovah blessed the seventh day and set it apart. Okay? One of the instructions why we're to set it apart. Nehemiah 10 verse 31 says, and that if the peoples of the land bring wares or any grain to sell on the Sabbath day, we would not buy it from them on the Sabbath day or on a set apart day. Okay, so Going and buying stuff from people in a shop, it is ruled out according to Scripture. You're making them work. Okay, they're doing their job. You're making them work. You're buying something from them. When it comes to things like, if you go and park somewhere, you got to put money in a parking meter, whether or not that is against the Shabbat, again, it's got to be down to your own discretion. Because you're not making anyone work. You're not making them transgress a commandment. Okay, you can't add to or take from the Torah. So again, down to your own to your own discretion. I'm not going to teach you that you can do that because, again, I don't have scriptural authority to. Deuteronomy 5:12-15 says, "Uphold the Sabbath day to set it apart as Yehovah your Elohim commanded you. 6 days you labor and shall do all your work, but the seventh day is the Sabbath of Yehovah your Elohim. You do not do any work, you nor your son, nor your daughter, nor your male servant, nor your female servant, nor your ox, nor your donkey, nor any of your cattle, nor your stranger who is within your gates, so that your male servant, your female servant rest as you do. And you shall remember that you were a slave in the land of Mitzrayim, and that Yehovah your Elohim brought you out from there by a strong hand and an outstretched arm. Therefore, Yehovah your Elohim commanded you to observe the Sabbath day." So what are we told? You shall remember that you were a slave in the land of Mitzrayim. Joe says it every time he prays. Okay, he thanks the Father for it, that we were released. But we're actually commanded that this is to be part of the Sabbath, that we are to remember that we were in bondage in the world, or that the Israelites were in bondage in Egypt. One thing I will say about the idea of using something automated, okay, buying something on the internet isn't automated. You don't know what is going to be involved there. Okay, you buy something on eBay, that goes to someone else's eBay account, they're checking their eBay account, they're doing work. Okay, so that's not what I'm saying. I'm talking about an automated machine. Nehemiah 13:15-19 says, "In those days I saw Yehudah, those treading wine presses on the Sabbath, bringing in sheaves, loading donkeys with wine, grapes, and figs, and all kinds of burdens which they brought into Jerusalem on the Sabbath day. So I warned them on the day they sold food." Okay? They were warned against selling. So we've got buying, that's a problem. Selling on the Shabbat is a problem as well. This kind of work as well, treading wine presses, agricultural work. And men of Sor dwelt there, bringing in fish and all kinds of goods, and sold them on the Sabbath to the children of Yehudah and in Jerusalem. Then I contended with the nobles of Yehudah and said to them, "What evil matter is this that you are doing, profaning the Sabbath day?" Okay, again, comes back to the idea of good and evil. We might think, doing something on the Sabbath, it's not a problem, it's not evil. It's evil, though, if it is declared wrong by Yehovah. "Did not your fathers do the same, so that our Elohim brought all this evil on us and on this city? Yet you bring added wrath on Yisrael by profaning the Sabbath." It doesn't go well with people that profane the Sabbath day. "And it came to be at the gates of Jerusalem, as it began to be dark before the Sabbath, that I commanded the gates to be shut and commanded that they should not be opened until after the Sabbath." Now, why didn't I include this when I was going through when a day starts? As it began to be dark before the Sabbath, seems like it's just a knockout win, doesn't it? Okay, that's what I thought until about 3 days ago. This is not the same in the Septuagint version. Okay, in the Septuagint version, it's different. And in all of my studies, I've always found the Septuagint version to be the most reliable. It is translated from Hebrew scriptures, which were 300 BC. The Masoretic text that we have is from 1000 AD, and the changes that are in it are not reflected by how Paul or how Yeshua quotes the Old Testament. So I will always go with the text that the Septuagint was translated from, because that's the text that Yeshua goes from. So although it's very tempting to put this verse in, it's not what the Septuagint says. So I thought, I'll just leave this aside because it's so obvious from the other text anyway. "And I stationed some of my servants at the gates so that no burdens would be brought in on the Sabbath day." So we've got this idea of bringing a burden in here. Jeremiah talks about the same thing. "Thus Yehovah said to me, go and stand in the gate of the children of the people by which the kings of Yehudah come in and by which they go out, and in all the gates of Jerusalem. And you shall say to them, hear the word of Yehovah, you kings of Yehudah and all inhabitants of Jerusalem who enter in by these gates." Okay, so this is the word of Yehovah coming from a prophet. Okay, thus said Yehovah, guard yourselves and bear no burden on the Sabbath day. Okay, so Charlie won't do weightlifting on the Sabbath day. We're not to do that sort of thing. We're not to do something that is physically strenuous. Okay, this is work that we shouldn't be doing on the Sabbath day. Nor bring it in by the gates of Jerusalem. Nor take a burden out of your houses on the Sabbath day, so you don't grab something heavy and you're taking it out of your house. Nor do any work, and you shall set apart the Sabbath day as I commanded your fathers. But they did not obey nor incline their ear, and they made their neck stiff not to hear and not to receive instruction. Same cycle again. Okay, go and tell them, but they will not listen. Exodus 34:21 says, 6 days you work, but on the seventh day you rest. In plowing time and in harvest you rest. So what do we learn from this? No matter how important it is, okay, if it's the Sabbath day, it is the will of Yehovah that we do not do work. Okay, we don't go, okay, in plowing time, we don't say, I need to go out and plow the field. I need to do it, okay? Same in harvest time. Okay? The food, it's going to spoil on the vine if we don't go out and get it. No, we rely on Yehovah. I've heard so many stories of people saying it was an impossible situation and I felt that I had to work, but I didn't, to not profane the Sabbath day, and then somehow, miraculously, it worked out for good. Matthew 12:10-13 says, and see, there was a man having a withered hand, and they asked him, saying, is it right to heal on the Shabbat, so as to accuse him? And he said to them, what man is there among you who has one sheep, and if it falls into a pit on the Sabbath, shall not take hold of it and lift it out? How much more worth is a man than a sheep? So it is right to do good on the Sabbath. Then he said to the man, stretch out your hand, and he stretched it out, and it was restored as healthy as the other. Now this is something that people will absolutely abuse, okay? It's right to do good on the Sabbath. I decide what doing good is. Therefore, I'm doing this thing because it's good, okay? Be very careful in applying this, okay? It is okay if a situation comes up where it's just an emergency. There's life at risk. You've got to do something in that situation, okay? Yeshua says, if your animal's at risk, save its life. Okay? However, be very careful in applying this to just anything that you want to break the Shabbat over. Verse 17 says, and you shall guard the festival of unleavened bread on the same day I brought your divisions out of the land of Mitzrayim, and you shall guard this day throughout your generations as an everlasting law. In the first month, on the 14th day of the month in the evening, you shall eat unleavened bread until the 21st day of the month in the evening. For 7 days, no leaven is to be found in your houses. And if anyone eats what is leavened, that same soul shall be cut off from the congregation of Israel, whether sojourner or native of the land. Do not eat that which is leavened. In all your dwellings you are to eat unleavened bread. So again, we come back to this issue. Why were they to be cut off if they ate leavened bread? Seems like such a simple thing, doesn't it? Numbers 15:30-31 says, but the being, the soul who does whatever defiantly, whether he is native or a stranger, he reviles Yehovah, and that soul shall be cut off from among his people. Because he has despised the word of Yehovah and has broken his command, that soul shall certainly be cut off. Okay? If you decide, I know what the Torah says, but just defiantly, I'm going to do something, I'm going to declare myself fine in Yehovah's eyes. Okay, Yeshua's blood covers me. I'm allowed to do this, okay? If you do that, you are despising the word of Yehovah, and you've broken the command. Because in all of this, we've read through some things, and you think, what, they were supposed to do what? They would do this and do that, and if they didn't, they were cut off from Israel, okay? Again, we've got to recognize and come back, which we will in a second, to Shaul. Okay, Shaul. What did Shaul say? He said, behold, to obey is better than sacrifice. It wasn't about killing a lamb. It wasn't about eating unleavened bread. It was about obedience, because that is what makes us Yehovah's people. Okay, so all of these things, not eating leavened bread, okay, that's not going to cut you off from Israel as that act in itself, But if you eat it and you're in disobedience, what you've decided to do is to revile his word, to say, I don't like that. I don't like your word. I'm not going to do it. What are you going to do about it? I'm covered by the blood of Yeshua. Oh dear. Verse 21 says, and Moshe called for all the elders of Israel and said to them, go out and take lambs for yourselves according to your clans and slaughter the Passover lamb. And you shall take a bunch of hyssop and dip it in the blood that is in the basin and strike the lintel and the 2 doorposts with the blood that is in the basin. And you, none of you, shall go out of the door of his house until morning. And Yehovah shall pass on to smite the Mitzrites, and shall see the blood on the lintel and on the 2 doorposts. And Yehovah shall pass over the door, and not allow the destroyer to come into your houses to smite you. And you shall guard this word as a law for you and your sons forever. Do you think that Yehovah didn't know who was, of Israel, who he was to kill and who he wasn't? It wasn't about that. They were to put the blood on the doorpost and stay in the house as obedience. That is why they were passed over, because they were obedient in what he said. Again, all of these things, all of Torah, it doesn't matter. Doing little bits of Torah, it doesn't matter. It's about obedience. It's about doing it all. To obey is better than sacrifice. 1 Peter 1:1-2 says, Kepha, an apostle of Yeshua Messiah, to the chosen, strangers of the dispersion in Pontus, Galatia, Cappadocia, Asia, and Bithynia, chosen according to the foreknowledge of Elohim the Father, set apart by the Spirit, again, conformed to the image of his Son, unto obedience and the sprinkling of the blood of Yeshua Messiah. Just like the blood on the doorposts, it wasn't anything without obedience. To obey is better than an offering. To heed is better than the fat of rams. Just if you're just doing things and you're like, well, we're doing this. I did obey the voice of Yehovah. Okay, it's just religious works. It's just garbage before him because it's not accompanied by obedience. You're not doing it to be obedient. You're doing it for whatever reason. And it shall be when you come to the land which Yehovah gives you, as he promised, that you shall guard this service. So shall we only do this when we come to the land? Is that what it's about? We only do this when it comes to the land. Or is he saying, do this when you come to the land because it's my law, it stands forever. Of course you're going to do it when you enter into the land. He's not saying, don't observe my law now. Okay? People make a big thing of this, don't they? I was speaking to someone the other day and they were like, oh no, this bit of it is the land covenant. As if the land covenant is even a thing. It doesn't exist anywhere in Scripture. Okay? When you come to the land which Yehovah gives you, that you shall guard this service. So should we only be doing Passover when we come to the land? We don't have a temple, so we're not able to sacrifice a Passover lamb. We're not able to actually do this, but that's because we're unable to do it. We don't read Scripture and pick out bits of it and say, oh, it says that you only do this when you come to the land. You do all of it. And it shall be when all these words come upon you, the blessing and the curse which I have set before you, and you shall bring them back to your heart among the Gentiles, where Yehovah your Elohim drives you, and shall turn back to Yehovah your Elohim and obey his voice according to all that I command you today. Okay, so when you're in the land of the Gentiles, all these commands, all of the feasts, all of the food laws, everything, you to do it when you're living in the land of the Gentiles. These are his moedim, his feasts, his appointed times. We're to be doing them, not because we're in the land. We don't read that passage of Scripture and go, oh no, we can't do this one. We're okay on this one. With all your heart and with all your soul, you and your children, do you think that it's doing it with all your heart and with all your soul if you're going, I'm not sure about this one. Yeah, we won't do this one. It says that they were to do it when they came to the land. We're not coming to the land, are we? No, that's okay. Rule this one out. Then Yehovah your Elohim shall turn back your captivity and shall have compassion on you, and he shall turn back and gather you from all peoples where Yehovah your Elohim has scattered you. Okay? It's about obedience. You're doing it. It's all complete package. When he's finally circumcised the hearts of his people to finally submit to him and put their hands up and say, Lord, because you've said it, we will do it. It's the only thing he's ever been looking for. And it shall be when your children say to you, what does this service mean to you? Then you shall say, it is the Passover sacrifice of Yahuwah, who passed over the houses of the children of Israel and Mitzrayim, when he smote the Mitzrites and delivered our households. And the people bowed their heads and did obeisance. This is the significance of it. And the children of Israel went away and did so, as Yahuwah had commanded Moshe and Aharon, so they did. Okay, so they've now come, a deliverer, a savior has been raised up. They've come in repentance. They've started following all of the commands of Elohim. They've been given the word soon when they get to Mount Sinai. Soon, though, they're going to be tested in whether they will do it. Most of them are going to fail the test. And it came to be at midnight that Yahuwah smote all the firstborn in the land of Mitzrayim, from the firstborn of Pharaoh, who sat on his throne, to the firstborn of the captive who was in the dungeon, and all the firstborn of livestock. And Pharaoh rose up in the night, he and all his servants and all the Mitzrites. And there was a great cry in Mitzrayim, for there was not a house where there was not a dead one. Then he called for Moshe and Aharon by night and said, arise, go out from the midst of my people, both you and the children of Israel, and go serve Yahuwah as you have said. Take both your flocks and your herds, as you have said, and go. Then you shall bless me too. And the Mitzrites urged the people to hasten to send them away out of the land, for they said, we are all dying. And the people took their dough before it was leavened, having their kneading bowls bound up in their garments on their shoulders. How amazing Yahuwah's foresight. He commanded them that during this period of time, you're going to be eating unleavened bread. Then what happens, the play out of time, they've only got unleavened bread. And this is in fact why we do it, to remember when they released from Egypt. And the children of Israel had done according to the word of Moshe, and they had asked from the Mitzrites objects of silver and objects of gold and garments. And Yahuwah gave the people favor in the eyes of the Mitzrites, so that they gave them what they asked, and they plundered the Mitzrites. You see the difference here. Before they were in disobedience, and that brought them into slavery. Now they've begun to observe the words of Moshe. Yahuwah gave the people favor. We saw these verses when we were looking at why they descended into slavery. When a man's ways please Yahuwah, he makes even his enemies to be at peace with him. What had happened? They'd just done the Passover. They'd just come in repentance. They were following the words of Yahuwah now. My son, do not forget my Torah. Let your heart watch over my commands. For length of days and long life and peace they add to you. Let not kindness and truth forsake you. Bind them about your neck. Write them on the tablet of your heart. Thus finding favor and good insight in the eyes of Elohim and man. What did they have? They had favor in the eyes of the Egyptians. Why? Because they were keeping his Torah. They were watching over his commands. And the children of Israel set out from Ramesses to Succoth, about 600 men on foot, besides the little ones. And the mixed multitude went up with them too, also flocks and herds, very much livestock. And they baked unleavened cakes of the dough which they had brought out of Mitzrayim, for it was not leavened, since they were driven out of Mitzrayim and had not been able to delay, nor had they prepared food for themselves. And the sojourn of the children of Israel who lived in Mitzrayim was 430 years. And it came to be at the end of the 430 years, on that same day, it came to be that all the divisions of Yahuwah went out from the land of Mitzrayim. It is a night to be observed unto Yahuwah for bringing them out of the land of Mitzrayim. This night is unto Yahuwah to be observed by all children of Israel throughout their generations, okay? This is another thing that we probably need to bring to our attention, something that we need to be doing. And Yahuwah said to Moshe and Aharon, this is the law of the Passover. No son of a stranger is to eat of it. But any servant, a man, has been brought for silver, when you have circumcised him, then let him eat of it. A sojourner and a hired servant does not eat of it. It is eaten in one house. You are not to take any of the flesh outside the house, nor are you to break any bone of it. All the congregation of Israel are to perform it. And when a stranger sojourns with you and shall perform the Passover to Yahuwah, let all his males be circumcised, and then let them come near and perform it. And he shall be as a native of the land, but let no uncircumcised eat of it. Now we are not of the mind that if you're not circumcised, you can't come to the memorial of the Passover dinner. Okay, because we're not eating the Passover lamb that's been sacrificed in the temple. Okay, we can't actually observe Passover. All we can do is observe the Moedim. So we're not of that mind. We are of the mind, though, that if you are not circumcised in heart, that you shouldn't be coming to the Passover meal. So think about whether you've been sitting here, you've been coming here a year, 2 years, you know that you're here to get circumcised, you've not got circumcised, whether or not your heart is truly circumcised before Yehovah. Something to consider. There is one Torah for the native born and for the stranger who sojourns among you. Okay? Stranger who sojourns among you, let them be circumcised as well if they're going to come to the Passover meal. And all the children of Israel did as Yehovah commanded Moshe and Aharon, so they did. And it came to be on that same day that Yehovah brought the children of Israel out of the land of Mitzrayim according to their divisions. What does it say when you're scattered into all of the lands? Okay, and you begin to observe with all your heart and with all your soul, when the children of Israel do as Yehovah commanded by Moshe and Aharon, came to be on that same day that Yehovah brought them out of this place. And it says, when you're doing this, when you're following these instructions, then I'm going to bring you back and I'm going to bring you to the land. And Yehovah spoke to Moshe saying, set apart to me all the firstborn, the one opening the womb among the children of Israel, among man and among beast, it is mine. And Moshe said to the people, remember this day in which you went out of Mitzrayim and out of the house of slavery, for by strength of hand Yehovah brought you out of this place, and whatever is leavened shall not be eaten. Today you are going out in the month of Aviv. And it shall be when Yehovah brings you into the land of the Canaanites and the Hittites and the Amorites and the Hivites and the Jebusites, which he swore to your fathers to give you, a land flowing with milk and honey, that you shall keep this service in this month. 7 days you eat unleavened bread, and on the seventh day is a festival to Yehovah. Unleavened bread is to be eaten the 7 days, and whatever is leavened is not to be seen with you. And leaven is not to be seen with you in all your border. And you shall inform your son in that day, saying, it is because of what Yehovah did for me when I came up from Mitzrayim. And it shall be as a sign to you on your hand and as a reminder between your eyes that the Torah of Yehovah is to be in your mouth. For with a strong hand Yehovah has brought you out of Mitzrayim. Okay? What does this remind us of? Okay? On your hand, between your eyes, hand in your forehead, of course the mark of the beast. Okay? I don't think that the mark of the beast is a barcode. I think it's what we think and what we do. Okay? I don't think that it's a microchip. Okay? I'm kind of wandering off into science fiction when we're believing things like that. And you shall guard this law at the appointed time from year to year. And it shall be when Yehovah brings you into the land of the Canaanites, as he swore to you and your fathers, and gives it to you, that you shall pass over to Yehovah everyone opening the womb, and every firstborn that comes from your livestock, the males belong to Yehovah. But every firstborn of a donkey you are to ransom with a lamb. And if you do not ransom it, then you shall break its neck. And every firstborn of man among your sons you are to ransom. So what's going on here? Okay, we've got the clean animals, okay? And then we've got the unclean animals. And the unclean animals, the neck is broken. It tells us what this is symbolizing here. And it shall be when your son asks you in time to come, saying, what is this? Then you shall say to him, by strength of hand Yehovah brought us out of Mitzrayim, out of the house of bondage. Snapped the neck of the unclean animals. And it came to be when Pharaoh was too hardened, too stubborn to let us go, that Yehovah killed every firstborn in the land of Mitzrayim, both the firstborn of the man and the firstborn of the beast. Therefore I am sacrificing to Yehovah every male that opened the womb, but every firstborn of my sons I ransom. And it shall be as a sign on your hand and as frontlets between your eyes, for by strength of hand Yehovah brought us out of Mitzrayim. This is what we are to remember. So, I hope that this makes sense to you. I hope that, you can understand the word, that it is obedience. Okay, it's not looking at these things and thinking, oh, I'll do this, and I won't do this, and maybe I'll make a step forward and I'm doing this. Okay, it's not about that. You're not making a step forward when you're doing the Torah bit by bit. You make the step forward when you submit to Yehovah and you say, all of it, everything, cleanse me of everything. You've taken it all away. I'm going to walk before you. I'm not going to defile my garments before you. Okay? Shall we pray? Thank you, Father, that you've laid all of this out, that our lives are to be seen in the lives of people who've come before us, that your word is living, that it changes us. Thank you, Father, that you give us these opportunities for repentance to come to you. Thank you that you're merciful and you're kind with us. Just pray, Father, that you'd send your Spirit and embolden us by your Spirit, and that we would not harden our hearts and we would not resist your Ruach. Thank you so much for everything that you've done for us, that you've brought us out of the land of Egypt to be your servants. Thank you, Father. Amen.